Once upon a time, toy companies would seemingly sell anything they could think of to kids, regardless of whether it made any sense. After enough kids were maimed or outright killed by stupid toys though, the government began regulating this stuff, but not before a number of insane products made it to market. Here's a look at some of the most dangerous toys ever sold to the public. Austin Magic Pistol. If you think it's a good idea to provide unstable explosives to small children, well, have we got the toy for you? Back in the 1940s, a toy gun called the Austin Magic Pistol was released. The idea was to shoot ping pong balls, but rather than use springs or something, the Austin Magic Pistol achieved this by using calcium carbide, which would explode when water, or just plain spit, was added. Instant fireball! Oh, and the gun's breech was barely screwed on and would blow off, scorching the face of the poor kid firing it with acetylene gas. Needless to say, the toy didn't last long and is now a collector's item, especially since so many of them simply exploded. Whoops. Moon shoes. Trampolines are dangerous, and even more so when they're built right into your shoes. As kids learned starting in the 1950s, the space shoes craze resulted in a slew of broken ankles, elbows, and other bones. But that didn't stop Nickelodeon from bringing the redesigned, rebranded moon shoes back in the 90s, because those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
One small step for man, one giant leap for emergency room procedures.
Battlestar Galactica Colonial Viper. In 1978, Mattel released the Battlestar Galactica Colonial Viper, which had an awesome spring-loaded plastic missile kids could fire. They don't make them like this anymore, and for good reason. Unfortunately, a 4-year-old toddler died after placing the nose of the toy into his mouth and accidentally firing the missile down his throat. The incident had one other notable side effect as well. The original Boba Fett action figure, which was still in development at the time, was originally going to have a spring-loaded rocket you could fire from his jetpack. This was quickly abandoned, but not until a few prototypes were made, which are now among the most valuable collectible toys in the world. Just, don't actually play with it. Sky dancers. Kids like dolls, and they also like helicopters, right? So Galoob Toys married the two ideas together and created a series of dolls called Sky Dancers in the late 1990s. The dolls would fly, yes, but they did so erratically, and just like grapefruit juice, the Sky Dancers usually wound up shooting into someone's unsuspecting eyes. The toys were recalled after the company received over 150 reports of the dolls hitting people, causing scratched corneas, as well as shattered teeth, a broken rib, and even a concussion. Naturally, they're now back on the market. The Gilbert Glass Blowing Kit for boys. If you think your kid could do with a new hobby and you also need some new glassware around the house, then go and find yourself the Gilbert Glass Blowing Kit right now. This terrifying toy, which came out a century ago, was marketed as a necessary device to help kids learn a valuable skill. What it actually taught them was arson. The kit, which didn't come with any protective gear of any kind, encouraged children to use their bare hands when working with glass at approximately 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. But hey, at least they learned the science of glass.
I mean, it's a creative toy. I mean, you hold this up, you see colors, you see all the colors of rainbows, I mean, it teaches them about light refraction, prisms and that stuff,
The Gilbert Atomic Energy Lab. Speaking of the Gilbert Company's totally safe, not at all horrific toys, in 1950 they decided to one-up themselves with the Gilbert Atomic Energy Lab, which actually contained real samples of uranium-238, which is radioactive, and which is used to make plutonium-239, the main ingredient used in atomic weapons. Of course, kids weren't putting together little Manhattan projects in their garages with these samples. No, they were just getting cancer. The toy was discontinued 2 years later. That's right, it took 2 years. CSI Fingerprint Analysis Kit. Back when CSI was one of the most popular shows on television, CBS decided to cash in by making a toy crime scene kit for kids who could then live out their dream of dusting a murdered mall Santa for fingerprints. Amazingly though, this toy was even worse than it sounds, because the fingerprint powder in the kit actually contained asbestos, widely known to be a cancer-causing material in a handy, easily inhaled form. It took CBS 20 months of litigation before they settled a class action lawsuit and recalled the toy. And you thought Happy Fun Ball was dangerous.
Discontinue use of Happy Fun Ball if any of the following occurs: itching, vertigo, dizziness, tingling in extremities, loss of balance or coordination.
Cabbage Patch Snacktime Doll. It was a simple idea behind the Cabbage Patch Snacktime Doll. Make a doll that could actually chew so you could pretend to feed it stuff. Fun! Unfortunately, programming for robot dolls wasn't so great in the 1980s, so once this thing started chewing, it couldn't stop. And that's where this goes from adorable to horrible, because numerous incidents came out where the doll would get a hold of young girls' hair and jump away until it pulled it right out of her scalp. Now, where could Mattel have gotten the idea for this toy in the first place? Oh yeah. Magnetix, magnetic building set. Science is fun, until it kills you. That was the lesson parents learned in horrible fashion back in 2006 when the Consumer Product Safety Commission issued the first of what would be multiple recalls of the magnetic building kits issued by Magnetix. Magnets, as you probably know, tend to attract each other, which, when swallowed, caused a number of children to require emergency surgery to clear intestinal blockages. And it sounds like some kids didn't remember that age-old proverb.
Don't eat metal. Don't eat metal!
If they had all just listened to Insane Clown Posse and rightfully feared what no one understands, this may never have happened.
Magnets, how do they work?
Thank you, Professor Shaggy 2Dope. Thanks for watching. Click the grunge icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.